Hello everyone and welcome to our podcast. Today we're going to talk about one of the most exciting technologies of all time, artificial intelligence or AI. We'll discuss how AI is changing business, the opportunities it creates, the risks it brings, and why Indonesia has great potential in this field. Joining us today is our guest, Radit. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and discuss such an important topic.
Okay, let's start with a simple question. What exactly is artificial intelligence?
Yes, artificial intelligence or AI is a technology that enables computers and machines to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. Tasks. These tasks includes understanding language, recognizing image, making predictions, learning from data, and even interacting with people through conversations. Today, AI has become a participal tool that helps business and organization work more effectively.
That's interesting. We often hear terms like natural language processing and machine learning. Could you explain what they mean?
Of course, natural language processing or NLP is the technology that allows computer to understand and generate human language. It's used in chatbots, translation system, or ML is a method that allows computer to learn from data without being explicitly programmed for every task. As computer analyze more data, they become better at recognizing patterns and making predictions.
Besides NLP and machine learning, are there any other technology commonly used today?
Yes, definitely there are several important AI technologies. Speech recognizing converts spoken words into text, while text to speech does the opposite by turning text into spoken language. Computer vision enables computers to recognizing face objects and scans from images or videos. Robotics combines AI with machines that can perform physical tasks automatically.
But can you give us some examples of how AI is being used in real life, especially in Indonesia?
Currently, one example is customer service chatbot that answer frequently asked questions and help customer 24 hours a day. Campaigns such as Kata.ai have developed AI solutions for business, including virtual assistant like Veronica for Telkomsel. AI also widely used in banking, commerce, retail, and government service to improve efficiency, automate routine work, and provide faster response to users.
Um, Many people worry that AI will eventually replace human. Is that something we should be concerned about?
It's a valid concern, but today I still consider narrow AI. It performs specific tasks very well, but does not have human consciousness, emotion, or empathy. AI can recognize pattern and process large amounts of information, but it cannot truly understand feelings or think creatively the way humans do. That's why AI should be viewed as a patterns that support human work rather than replacing people entirely.
There has also been a lot of discussion about AI becoming conscious, especially after debates surrounding systems like Lambda. What's your opinion on that?
Those discussions attract a lot of public attention, but from an engineering perspective, sure, an AI system are not conscious. They generate response based on patterns found is massive amounts of data. They don't possess awareness, emotions, or personal experience those AI can appear very human in conversation. It is still fundamentally a substituted computational system.
Besides job displacement, what other risks should we pay attention to as AI continues to develop?
There are several important concerns. Ethical uses are one of them, especially regarding privacy, fairness, and transparency. Organizations must ensure that AI systems are developed responsibly and that humans remain involved in important discussions. Good data governance is also essential because AI systems are only are reliable as the data they learn from.
So, what are the best practice for implementing AI responsibly?
Successful AI implementation starts with high quality data that is clean, organization, and properly labeled. Next, developers solve design algorithms that address real user needs. Human oversight should always be included to monitor AI decisions and prevent mistakes. Finally, AI projects should be introduced gradually evaluated, consciously and improved over time instead of being deployed all at once.
Okay, let's talk about Indonesia. Why do experts believe Indonesia has strong potential in AI development?
Indonesia has several advantages. First, we have a very large population that generates valuable data for AI development. Second, our diverse local language creates opportunities for natural language processing technology specifically designed for Indonesian users. Third, collaboration between business, universities, and the government and can accelerate innovation and produce AI solutions that address local challenges.
What skills should be people develop to prepare for an AI-driven future?
Continuous learning is the key. Is the key. People should strengthen their digital literacy, critical thinking, creative and communication skills. Technical technical knowledge such as data analysis and programming is certainly valuable, but equally important are uniquely human qualities like empathy, ethical judgment, and collaboration. There are skills that I cannot truly replace.
Before we finish, what message would you like to leave to for our listeners?
Maybe AI is a powerful technology that can improve productivity, simplify everyday tasks, and create new opportunities across many industries. However, technology should always serve people, not replace them, but by combining innovation with ethics, responsibility, and continuous learning. We can ensure that AI contributes positively to society. Indonesia has tremendous potential to become a leader and to become a leader in AI innovation if we continue investing in our people, research, and collaborations.
That's an inspiring message. Thank you so much, Radit, for sharing your thoughts and insight about artificial intelligence with us today. AI
Yes.
crazy is transforming the way we live and work, as you mentioned. The most important thing to use it responsibly while continuing to develop your own skill. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, let's switch things up a little. We're going to swap roles for our next discussion. Radit will take over as a host,
Yes.
and I'll be the guest speaker this time instead of artificial intelligence, we will talk about another technology that most of us use every day but rarely think about, which is email. So, Reddit, it's your now.
Yes, thanks, Hakim. Well, we've just talked about one of the newest technologies shaping our future. Now, let's move to one of the oldest digital communication tools that is still widely used today. That is email. Even though messaging apps have become very popular, email remains an essential part of communication in school, universities, business, and many other organizations. So, Hakim, let me start with a simple question. What exactly is email?
Thank you, Reddit. Email or electronic mail is a system that allows people to send and receive digital messages over the internet. Unlike an instant messaging application, email is designed for both personal and professional communication. It allows users to exchange not only text message but also attachments such as documents like presentation, spreadsheets, image, videos, and PDF files. One of the reasons email has remained relevant for decades is that it provides a formal and organized way of communicating. Students use email to submit assignment like what we used to do and contact letters, while companies use it to send contracts, business proposal, invoice, or official announcement. Even though apps like WhatsApp and Instagram are more popular for casual conversation, email is still considered for the standard for professional communication because it is reliable, secure, and widely accepted around the world.
That's interesting. We all use email almost every day, but yeah, I think many people don't know much about its history. So, when was the first email actually sent?
Uh, the first email was sent in 1970 by a computer engineer named Ray Tomlinson. Here's something that surprised a lot of people. Many assume websites come first, but that's actually not true. The first website wasn't created until 1991, which means email has already existed for about 20 years before people start browsing websites like we do today. In other words, email is actually older than the World Wide Web or WWW. This shows how important email has been in the development of the internet. Even after more than 50 years, billions of emails are still sent every single day.
Wow, I honestly didn't know that. There's another thing I've always wondered about. Why does every email address use the at symbol?
That's actually a very interesting story. Ray Tomlinson chose the at symbol because it was rarely used in people names or computer names at the time. It becomes the perfect separator between the username and the computer for service hosting the email account. Like for example, student at gmail.com. Student is the username while gmail.com is the domain. The symbol clearly tells the system where the email shall be delivered. What's even more impressive is that this format has remained unchanged for more than 50 years and still used by billions of people today. Sometimes the simplest idea become the most successful.
That's amazing. Now, let's talk about something that everyone has probably experienced as a last one spam emails. When did spam actually begin?
Okay, believe it or not, the first spam email was sent in 1978. It wasn't a scam like many spam emails we see today. It's kind of different. Instead, it was an advertisement promoting a computer product, and it was sent to around 400 people, I think. Yes. Although that number may seem small today, many recipients were already annoyed because they received an email they never requested in that year. Over time, spam became much bigger problems. Today, billions of spam emails are sent out every day around the world. Fortunately, email services such as Gmail and Outlook use advanced spam filters powered by what we call machine learning
Hmm?
to automatically detect and move suspicious messages into spam folder before users even open them. So users doesn't need to check them one by one.
That's interesting. Besides being annoying, why is spam considered such a serious problem?
Spam isn't just about unwanted advertisement. Large amount of spam can waste storage space, consume network resources, and make it difficult for people to find important emails. But more importantly, some spam emails contain dangerous links or malicious attachment. If someone clicks on those links, criminals may steal the password, banking information, and or other personal data. So spam isn't only inconvenient; it can also become a serious cybersecurity threat.
That leads perfectly to my next questions. Nowadays, we often hear about phishing. What exactly is phishing? And why do criminals often use email?
Okay. Phishing is actually one of the most common cyber attacks today. In phishing attacks, criminals pretend to be trusted organizations such as banks, universities, online shopping platforms, or delivery companies. They create email that look very convincing by copying official logos, colors, and writing styles. Their goal is to trick people into clicking fake websites or entering passwords so they can steal it. Because many people trust email from familiar organizations, phishing can be surprisingly effective. That's why we should always check the sender email address carefully, avoid creating suspicious link, and never download attachment from unknown source. Spending just a few extra seconds checking an email can prevent a major problem later.
That's definitely useful advice. Now I have another question. When I click the send button, does my email go directly to the reception inbox?
Not immediately. An email usually travels through several mail servers before reaching its destination. Think of it like sending a package. When you send a package, it doesn't go directly from your house to your friend's house. It first goes to a local post office, then to a sorting center, and finally to the destination. Email works is very similar to that way. Your message is processed by different mail servers that check the destination and make sure it's reached the correct inbox. Even though this process often takes only a few seconds, your email actually travels through several steps before it arrives. It was processed that happens automatically, so most users never even realize it.
That's actually fascinating. I always thought the email was sent directly to the other person's computer. Before we end today's discussions, do you have any other interesting facts about email?
Of course. Like one interesting fact that email doesn't require people to be online at the same time. If the recipient is offline, the message simply stays on the mail server until they check their inbox. Another interesting fact that every email address is unique. For example, someone already owns the alex@gmail.com. Nobody else can create the same address. Another reason email is important is because it creates a permanent record of communication. Many business and universities keep email conversation as official documentation because they are easier to organize and search later. Even with the rapid growth of messaging apps and social media, email continues to be a vital role in education, business, healthcare, government service, or many other fields.
Those are some really interesting facts. Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask one final question. What advice would you like to give to our listeners about using email safely and responsibly?
My advice is simple. Always use email carefully and responsibly. Create a strong password. Enable two-factor authentication whenever possible, and never click on suspicious link on attachment from unknown sender. It also a good habit to double check the recipient email address before sending important information, especially if it contains personal or confidential data. Email may seem like a simple technology, but it has played an important role in digital communication for more than 5 years. Understanding how email works not only helps us appreciate the technology behind it, but also encourage us to become safer and more responsible about internet users.
Well said. Today we've learned that email is actually other than websites. Why the at symbol was chosen, how spam first appeared, why phishing is still one of the biggest cybersecurity threats, and how emails travel through multiple servers before reaching our inbox. It's amazing to realize that something we use almost every day has such a rich history and continues to play an important role in modern communications. They thank you so much, Hakim, for sharing these valuable insights.
Okay, thank you for having me, Radit. It was a pleasure discussing this topic, and I hope everyone learned something new about email today.
And thank you to everyone for listening to our podcast today. We hope today's discussion has given you better understanding of email and why it remains an essential part of our digital lives. See you in our next episodes. Goodbye
Bye.
everyone.